So how did you wind up in the current situation that you're in? Maybe your bank account is zero. Maybe you're overdrawn. Or perhaps you are in a job that you absolutely detest and can't stand. Whose fault is that? So we're discussing this week on Relaxed Male, episode number 25. Hello and welcome to Relaxed Male, podcast that helps men change their relationship with themselves. I am your host, Brian, and I am a men's life and mindset coach who is here to help you understand that you don't have to suffer at your own expense. You can live your dream, and I encourage you to set, then pursue your goals. So join me as I change the mindset and attitudes of men so that they can be the leaders of their families and their destinies. Hey man, hello and welcome to Relaxed Male. All right, so today, talking about different circumstances and situations that you find yourself in. I notice from time to time that so many people, and I did a blog post about this a couple of years ago where I was talking about just victimhood and the victimhood mindset and how dangerous that whole type of mindset actually is because, one, nobody likes a victim. Nobody respects a victim. And yeah, there's people who want to help, but as soon as that person realizes that a victim is in the situation because, and I'm not going to bury the lead. I'm just going to, a victim is in the situation that they're in because of their own actions. No one's going to feel sorry for them. And sadly, that's what a victim wants people to do, is to have them feel sorry for them. And the problems that arise from that. And the whole victim mindset shows up in so many different ways. And that's where we're wanting to look at. So you have someone like an addict. A lot of times we even attribute the victim to the victim mindset with even people like who are addicts, because we say, oh, they can't help it. They're addicted. They go as far as wanting to say that an addiction is a mental illness, which, okay, you can think that if you want, but I don't see that. I don't see how you can suddenly become an addict because, beyond your control. A disease, is, when I hear the word disease, I'm thinking more along the lines of something like, chickenpox, the coronavirus, these things that are kind of outside your control, and you don't go around and catch, being addicted, catch alcoholism. You don't catch being a heroin addict. It's not a disease that you can catch. Yeah, I can sort of see, it can change the addiction, and the rewards you get because of an addiction can hinder the way you think, but I still not fully seeing it as an actual mental illness. But because we want to apply that mental illness factor or a disease factor label to like addiction, we have people who now have an easy out card. It's like, yep, I'm an addict. I can't help it. And, I've got a disease. I've got a problem. Well, yeah, you've got a problem, but how did you get into that problem? It's not because you walked past another addict and all of a sudden they sneezed on you and poof, voila, you become a crackhead. The way you got into that predicament is because of you, as the actions you took. And that's where a lot of people have a hard time actually understanding where victim mindset holds you back. They want to look at, it's not my fault. I had horrible parents who abused me. And because of that, their actions upon me back 25 years ago keep me from being able to achieve any success, or you're in a job that you absolutely hate. Well, it's the company doesn't want to promote me because, they have their cousin that they're wanting to promote and put in the position I rightly deserve. Well, that's not completely correct, because there are actions that you have done that have kept you from actually being able to be promoted. There are things where there are actions and choices you have made that prevent you from being the target guy. It could just be the fact that you're just busy putting your head to the grindstone, and you're not doing the other difficult things that are needed, where you're getting out and you're talking to other people and you're being sociable and you're expanding your network and all the other things that are needed so that you can actually become well known enough and trusted enough to the boss that, hey, I want him to go to the next step. There's a lot of little things where especially when it comes to like dead end jobs, a lot of jobs, there are positions that can be made if you're willing to push yourself enough and get yourself out of that actual, get out into the discomfort zone just enough to where you can actually work yourself into a position that may not have even existed before until you come up with the idea and presented it to the boss. And that's kind of the scary part. Broke people have the same problem. They especially with some of the different type of political affiliations out there. You have this, people want to try to blame their shortcomings on other people. They want to see it's the big corporations are the ones who are making people poor. It's capitalism that has all poor people, except, well, no, you can look at other political and economic setups where they actually have they have more poor people. And the problem that is that everybody's poor. And so in that case, quote unquote, everybody's more equal, but everybody who is poor still wants to become rich and powerful in their own way. And so because of safety, you give up a lot of your freedoms. We see that today with the whole pandemic problem that we have, is so many people willingly gave up a lot of their rights, and now they're fixing to have to really struggle to get some of those rights back. You have barbers and salon stylists who are being thrown in jail, being fined $1,000 a day and 1 year of jail time for each haircut. Each head they give a haircut to, because they instantly gave up their right out of the name of, safety and security for the rest of the people, for the betterment of the good. And in all reality, okay, yeah, it sounds noble. It sounds altruistic to give up your livelihood and all that for the betterment of everybody else. And in all reality, that's one of the worst things you can actually do. We all know what needs to be done to be able to keep yourself as healthy as possible. Keeping everybody locked up inside their house actually is causing more problems than good. One, you have more instances of domestic violence going on and domestic abuse, because there are people who have made bad decisions. It's not that all of a sudden they married a guy who went from being, this kind, caring, generous guy, and all of a sudden turned into this raging asshole. There are people, there was always signs there that people immediately just dismissed. They made the choice to dismiss those, and so they wind up in abusive relationships. And now that they're locked up with this other person, and there's not really any excuse or escape to be able to get away from that person, because, well, you can't leave out of, fear of this virus. Yeah. Is this virus dangerous? Okay. Yes, it does have a raised fatality rate for some people. And yeah, we don't want to get those people who are at risk sick, but we're also sacrificing ourselves for the sake of other people. And that never works out in the end. So we're finding ourselves in a very rough circumstance right now. People are starting to lose stuff. They're starting to lose their house that they've been paying for 15 years. They've got another 15 years to go before they own it outright. People are losing their cars, though they claim they can't be evicted. There are people who are starting to go through the eviction processes. And yeah, once the eviction process happens, they may not be able to physically be removed as of yet. But the moment that those restrictions are lifted, and they will be lifted eventually, either the landowners will start rising up and start causing the eviction processes to get going so that they can start making the needed money to keep up the houses that they're renting out. Or the government will finally realize that, hey, we're not making a whole lot of money off of this because we don't get the added benefit of taxes. But however it is, the circumstances that are happening are compounding themselves, and we're doing it under the guise of austere reasons, when in all reality, we're playing a victim mindset. So the main reason that most people fall into the circumstances that they're in is, first off, they see that the circumstances, and they see where they're at, and they first off perceive it to be bad. All right. I can't leave. I can't do this because of X, Y, and or Z. I'm stuck here. And they relinquish their choices, their ability to make that choice, because they see the experience and circumstance and environment that they're in as in a very fixed way. They can't change it. It could be because they don't think they're worthy of or capable of actually leaving, or they believe that they think that they're too afraid to be able to leave a abusive relationship, or that there's no way that they can ever dig themselves out of the financial situation that they're in. When in all reality, if they change that to where they actually start seeing that event in a different light, where see that problem as a positive event. And yes, you can see every event, every circumstance in your life is neutral. And so you can either choose to see it in a negative light or a positive light. Every event and circumstance is neutral until you apply a thought to that particular circumstance. So because of that, you can actually see that you're in dire financial straits because you didn't save up money. Or you could say that you're in dire economic straits because of the reason somebody else put you in that actual circumstance. And yeah, you can point your finger and say it's their fault, but you got to remember, every time you point a finger, there's actually 3 more being pointed back at you. Taking that, the way you address the circumstance, if you can change that how you address and how you look at that circumstance, you can actually change the whole dynamic of what the problem in your life actually is. So and that is all that boils down to the mindset. You can have a fixed mindset. You can have a scarcity mindset about money. You can have a scarcity mindset about food. You can have a scarcity mindset about the reason why you're in a drug-addled state. But you can also change that circumstance and realize, and especially if you change and take on full responsibility for what your actions are. doesn't matter that you're in a abusive relationship because your parents slapped you around when you were a kid. That is, your parents weren't around when you decided to shack up with Bruno, the baby puncher. You're Waldo, the wife beater. He's just the product of a choice you made. You saw the red flags, and you actually, if you take responsibility for the fact that, yeah, I saw those red flags, and you take responsibility for the fact that, yeah, I made that choice. I moved into that house. I moved into, a house where the woman at the time, she's beautiful, but she is emotionally abusive. You saw those flags. And so you decided to actually make the choice of wanting to go live with this gal, though she likes to emotionally beat on you from time to time. And there's even instances where there are physically abusive, women in a relationship where the guy is the one who gets beat up. We don't get that as much because, one, guys are just as afraid of what types of judgment will come about as what women think, what women fear of when they stay in an abusive relationship. But all of these are reasons are created because of the mindset and because of the attitudes that you have about yourself, and trying to point that finger and saying that it's somebody else's fault doesn't fix the situation. As a matter of fact, it cements you into that situation even more because you aren't willing to take the actions needed to get out of that, whatever problem that you're in. You have decided, I can't do it because it's not my fault. I didn't do anything wrong. It's everybody else's fault. So you're not willing to take the steps. But if you take responsibility for what your actions are and for what you did and the choices you made, then you're going to be a lot more willing and a lot more able to go on ahead and step up and start cleaning your own darn house. So how do you get out of, a bad situation? Well, first off, like I said, own your dirt, man. Own up to what you did wrong, what problems, what shortcomings you did. Yeah, you may have a drug problem. There are solutions to that problem. You can, if you're strung out on meth or heroin, or God only knows what other type of drug. Maybe you've hurt your back and you decided to keep using oxycodone way past when your doc has already said your back's healed, but you keep getting painkillers. That is your choice. You can choose now to start finding a way to get off of them. You know that your back is all right. You know that whatever that injury was has healed. It doesn't take 5 years for an injury to fix itself. Yeah, you may have a bulging disc or a degenerative disc disorder, but there are people who use so many other different ways of mitigating and regulating that pain and discomfort, either by going to the chiropractor, by doing yoga, doing other types of exercises to change the amount of weight that might be bearing down on that damaged spot of your back. They don't have to have the medications, those hard opiates that other people who are hooked on opiates take, because they know that their back's not going to get well just because they're popping a pill. So you have to first off decide, hey, I'm not going to do this no more. There's no reason for me to be in this circumstance. I am tired of X, Y, and or Z. I am tired of the heavy feeling in my lungs because I smoke too much. Whatever the issue is, you have the ability to actually change that circumstance. Get rid of the problem that is that you're facing. But to do that, First off, you have to own your dirt. You have to man up and be the person and take control of your life. The second part is to actually use that situation as your launching pad. You can use the abusive relationship as a reason to get your butt out of there, instead of saying, well, I can't leave because of X, or whatever reason, because I was, mistreated as a child. I'm tired of being in this. I am going to be the best man possible. I can't do that in this particular relationship. So I'm going to get out of it and take my kids with me. You do what you have to do to get yourself into a better position. And you can use that place where you have this crappy life as the starting blocks, the reason to get yourself launched out into a new life. Now, these changes aren't easy. They're always going to be brought with discomfort and uncertainty and fear and everything else. But if you focus and keep it in mind, the reason as to why you are making the change, you're able to power through those different levels of discomfort that you will face. Yeah, you may not have ever lived on your own ever before in your life. You may have gone out, moved from your parents' house and moved in with a roommate, and you and the roommate hung out for a couple of years, and then you met a girl and she moved in, and then y'all decided to go move into another apartment, and y'all lived there for a couple of years, and then you decided, heck, I'll marry her, and you got married, and y'all been living together for 10 years. And now all of a sudden you're fixing to leave and you're like going, dude, I've never lived by myself. I can't do that. I don't know how to handle the money. What do I, you're going to have all these fears. What do I need to pay first? All these new and interesting, if I could speak, barriers that come up are not impossible to get past, because those barriers are done by everybody. First time you ever lived on your own, well, congratulations. You're fixing to find out when you've got to get your rent put in, when you have to pay your light bill, when you have to pay your car payment, you got everything down. And you may even realize that, holy smokes, no wonder I am in debt so much, because I'm working at a job that pays just enough for me to have $100 left over for food. And from there, you can realize, okay, I need to find some way of being able to acquire more cash. Do I get a second job? Do I get a better paying job? Or do I start my own business where I am in control of everything? You make all these decisions, and as you take those turns, you can step out and go. You find yourself in that very same, all these different victim-minded sets. Also, you can help your son down the road, because you'll see times where he'll want to make the excuse of, oh, I didn't have time. Well, actually, you did have time, son. You chose to play football and soccer, and then on top of that, when you get home, you play, 5 hours of video games, and you stream on Twitch, and yeah, you're got your group of online friends, and you come down and you eat, and then you go upstairs, and before you know it, it's, midnight, and you didn't even start opening the homework. Well, the reason that you didn't start your homework is because the homework wasn't high enough priority. So it is your fault. You needed to put the homework on a higher level. It's not that you can't do the other things. You're going to have plenty of time for all the stuff that you truly want to do. But if you choose to not do whatever that is, then it's your fault. And your son gets to actually face the consequences of not getting his homework done. He gets that F. And depending on how important it is to him, it may affect him. It may not. My son, well, he didn't he personally didn't really care whether he liked getting A's, but I mean, at the same time, he didn't see the value of a high school. And that's one reason why he didn't go to college. He doesn't need college for what he likes to do. He is a very outdoorsy, hands-on type of person, and doing a bunch of theoretical in class stuff just doesn't suit him. I think it's wonderful that he's taken the steps that he has and kind of starting to realize what his dream is. When it comes to victim mindset, getting this all wrapped up now, there's a lot of different times that being a victim is going to show up with you. You're going to want to point a finger to somebody else. It's their fault. I didn't have time. It's not my fault. It's everything else. You're going to want to point a finger to so many different things just so that you don't have to face the discomfort of looking at actually your actions. But if you can take the time to actually point out that, hey, this is my doing. This is I made that choice. I did what I did. And it was a bad call. You can then take the steps needed to actually correct that issue and get yourself onto a track that is actually going to help you become more prosperous, more successful, and help your son become the stronger, better person that you actually want. Take the time. Next time you find yourself and you want to say that it's somebody else's fault, before you do, how did you let that other person actually have the problem? Or how did you allow the other person to actually have control over your life in such a way, especially if it's somebody who you claim you don't like? All right. Look at that. Think it over. Let me know down in the comments. You can go to relaxedmale.com/25, and that'll take you to the show notes for this page. And tell me down in the comments below what's a circumstance that you believe is not your fault, and we can probably sit there and kind of hash it out and see that it's actually that's something that you may have done. If you are needing assistance and you want help and to get yourself to the next level, I've got packages that are available that you can actually go and see. And if you'd like to, you can sign up for a 1 hour discovery session where we talk it out and talk things through and kind of see what it is that what points of the world are you needing, or parts of your life are you needing to actually get some coaching on, get some help to be able to become the person that you're wanting to become. How are you wanting to be able to help your son to become a stronger, more self-reliant young man? All right. So anyhow, I'm going to let you go. Thanks again for listening, and I will be letting you go, and we'll talk to you again next week. If you like this podcast, real quick, just click like if you're click like. No, it's in the YouTube channel. If you like this channel, please call this podcast, please hit the subscribe. And my brain is wanting to go to YouTube for some reason. And click subscribe. If you go to relaxedmale.com/subscribe, and there are the major podcast apps out there that you can actually click and get a one-click link to their app and be able to subscribe to the page there. If you really like this show, then please go to, if you're on iPhone, go to iTunes and click subscribe and leave a rate and review. It doesn't really help so much. A lot of people want to say it helps with the algorithm. In all reality, it doesn't. The subscription does, but the ratings or review are just for social cred, so that people could see, hey, this guy knows what he's talking about, or hey, this guy's full of crud. It helps people make a better choice on whether or not I would be a good fit for them. If you are Android, then you can go to relaxedmale.com/podchaser, all one word, and that'll take you over to podchaser.com to my page there, and you can then also rate and review this show from there. All right. So I will let you go. Thanks again for listening. We will see you next week. So till then, bye.